On Tech News Today, Samsung's TV privacy policy is compared to Orwell's 1984. Plus, here comes the Ubuntu smartphone, and Congress is coming after the car industry over security and privacy. It's all coming up next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This is Tech News Today for Monday, February 9th, 2015. This episode is brought to you by LegalZoom. Visit LegalZoom.com to save on your legal needs and gain access to a network of legal plan attorneys for guidance. LegalZoom is not a law firm, but provides self-help services at your specific direction. Visit LegalZoom.com and use our offer code TNT to get $10 off at checkout. And by Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell your used gadgets. Find out what your used iPhone, iPad, and other Apple products are worth at Gazelle.com. Tech News Today is the show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who report it. Google Maps turns 10 years old today. Happy birthday, Google Maps. My name is Mike Elgan. Lindsay Turrentine is off today, and Tech News Tonight anchor Megan Morrone is right here, co-anchoring the show. Hey, Megan.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here. It's so great to have you on this show. Now, when I go to Mobile World Congress, you're going to be running things, so everybody be nice to Megan, because she's going to be doing this show. So I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yes, you'll be doing part of the show from Mobile World Congress, from beautiful Barcelona.
That's right. That's right. And it'll be in the evening, so I will be like tired from working all day. Right. And you'll be fresh because it'll be in the morning. So,
right.
Yes, that's how it works. Well, why don't we do some news?
Okay, let's do that.
Why not? A Redditor discovered last week that Samsung's smart TV privacy policy gives the company the right to share what you say in your living room with unnamed third-party companies, along with data about your device. Megan Morrone, this data includes the specific device, so like the unique identifier of your TV. I don't know what use that would be to anyone. And everybody's kind of flipping out about it. There's a controversy brewing that it's a big deal. A lot of people are saying this is no big deal. Other companies do it. They're not going to, nothing bad is going to happen to you. What do you think about this? Is this a big deal as some people are making of it?
Well, I think it's a little creepy that your TV is listening to you. But at the same time, it's part of that privacy policy. We never read it. I'm glad someone read it and let us know that this is going on.
No pun intended. Somebody read it.
Yeah. But I don't really care. I mean, the most important part of this story to me is I'm glad someone's reading it and pointing that out, because I would like to know all these things as Big Brother keeps watching us and watching us, even though I don't really feel that badly about this one in particular. Yeah,
I mean, apparently LG had a similar scandal in 2013. I don't recall that one personally. And then there are other things that this brings to light. For example, the Amazon Firefly is a feature on the Amazon Fire Phone where you just want to capture anything. So if you hear a song, you push the button. If you want to scan a product to get more information about that product, you push the same button. So if you scan, so it turned out when this phone first hit, we learned that when you push the button to scan a product, it also listens, captures the audio of whatever's going on in your room, uploads that to Amazon, and they never delete it ever. So that's the kind of thing that's happening already out there for the 5 or 6 people who own an Amazon Fire Phone. The other thing is that Microsoft has a couple of patents that use the camera in Kinect or a Kinect-like device to see who's in the room, and they do that for 2 reasons. The first is advertising. So if they see certain people and recognize them in some future version of this, I don't think they have that capability now, they can advertise specifically to the people in the room. The second one is if the person has a license for no more than 6 people and there are 10 people in the room, they can take appropriate action according to the patent. Nobody likes any of this stuff, but this is what companies are essentially giving themselves permission and the right and the legal right to do and figuring out ways to do it.
But it is creepy, like someone's deciding how many people you can have in your living room.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And my guess is, of course, the policies in this case, the patents sound worse than the intentions of the company. My guess is that Microsoft is concerned about somebody using a license for a family in a huge sports bar or something like that. If they look out and see a sea of drunken maniacs, they think, well, this isn't the Jones family or whatever. And one of the interesting things about this that's kind of fun is that EFF activists are comparing the policy to Orwell's 1984, and they're putting the policy side by side with quotes from the novel 1984. I don't think it quite works. They don't quite have, you know, the wording is not identical in any way, but still it's interesting for them to point that out.
Yeah, and I'm glad those watchdogs are out there.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they have the time to do that. Keep doing it.
Yeah, that's right. So and keep them honest. They may change the privacy policy. This is turning into something of a scandal. Well, I've got some more news for you in just a sec, but first I want to tell you about LegalZoom. I can't talk about LegalZoom without mentioning Better Call Saul, which debuted last night. Fantastic show. A little slow in some parts, but it reminds you of why you never want to get a bad attorney. And oftentimes you don't need an attorney at all because of LegalZoom. LegalZoom will give you all the tools you need to take care of a lot of your legal needs without paying the extremely high price of hiring an actual attorney. It's not a law firm. It's self-help legal services at your specific direction. You can plan your life. You can make a living will or trust or do power of attorney, change your name. So many things you can do. They've helped millions of people protect themselves and save money. And of course, if you'd like more help, they can connect you with an independent attorney. Get your life organized, take control of your financial affairs, and remember that LegalZoom has helped millions of people for more than 10 years. It's a fantastic service. Don't let another year pass you by before getting your life organized. For legal help you can count on for your family or small business, go to LegalZoom.com. Use the offer code TNT, and that'll get you $10 off at checkout. Protect your family and protect your future at LegalZoom.com. And we thank LegalZoom for their support of Tech News Today. In other news, the world's first Ubuntu smartphone will be rolled out in Europe over the next few weeks. The Aquarius E4.5 smartphone, which runs Ubuntu OS, will cost less than $200. Cherlynn Low writes for Tom's Guide and joins us now to talk about this. How you doing, Cherlynn?
Hi, I'm good. Good to be back.
Thank you for coming back. Now, who the heck makes this Ubuntu OS? What can you tell us about this operating system?
Ubuntu is made by Canonical, and Ubuntu's been around for like at least a decade. They started with a PC operating system. It's a Linux-based operating system that's very popular with a very niche market of developers and people that are hardcore Linux fans. So I think that's why the news that Ubuntu is finally coming to a phone is big news. But the thing is, though, Ubuntu's been talking about Ubuntu for the phone for a while, for at least 2 years now. And they also showed it off last year in a working phone at Mobile World Congress. But this is the first time they're putting their operating system on a phone and making it available to the public, at least in Europe.
Well, do you think this will be a niche phone, like the operating system is a niche operating system, or do you think this will be more popular than that?
I personally think it'll be a niche phone because it's a huge departure from iOS and Android, where you don't get an app grid anymore. You have to swipe in from the left to kind of access all your apps in a drawer. And, it takes it'll take a bunch of scrolling to kind of look for a specific app. But they also have a new thing called scopes, which are kind of like aggregated home pages that you can swipe through to access your apps from there as well, which might make it confusing for someone who's new to Ubuntu as an OS. So again, they're targeting a mass market with this, but I don't think it'll take off with the general public. You know,
the pundit community, of which I guess I am a member, is quite fickle on this question because everybody complains about the fact that there are only two major smartphone operating systems these days, iOS and Android, obviously. And everybody says, oh, yeah, there should be 4 or 3 or 5, or there should be more than 2. And then a third one comes along like this, and everybody's like, nobody really gets it. There must be advantages, though, for this. I mean, whoever it is that's going to buy this is going to buy it for some reason. What are the advantages that you can see in getting the Ubuntu OS over iOS or Android?
So I think Ubuntu OS is going to sell for cheaper than other phones in general. That's not to say Android isn't an affordable OS for a lot of people already, but it looks like it needs lightweight specs to run. So the phone that's available right now, it's got, not the best processor, not a lot of high-end hardware. But again, the Ubuntu for desktop didn't require a lot of hardware to run efficiently as well. So that might be an advantage. Again, like you said, it's good to have a third party. Although let's not forget Windows Phone.
Right, I wondered why you didn't mention that.
Yeah. And there's Firefox OS for the phone as well. And I mean, people were excited when that came out, but again, it's it's not got the app space that people need. And Ubuntu's OS doesn't seem to have a lot of popularity yet in terms of apps. It's all very obscure, open source stuff.
So you mentioned the Windows mobile operating system, and last week we heard that Microsoft was a big investor in Cyanogen, which is another open source mobile platform. Is this a competitor to Ubuntu, or how does that work?
Cyanogen started off as like a version of Android, and when I played with it, I really liked it because it offers so much more in terms of what you can do with your apps and what you can do with your phone. It gets you more access to things that you're normally restricted from. And I think it's based on a mature operating system, and that's why it has a lot more appeal than the Ubuntu Touch or the Ubuntu Phone OS. And so that is the key advantage Cyanogen Mod has, that it has got a big investor behind it. So it's only going to get better.
Ubuntu is great for geeks, but probably won't be a popular.
Yeah, in my opinion, definitely it's more a geek niche market.
Cherlynn Low is at tomsguide.com, and you can follow her on Twitter at Cherlynn Low. Thank you for joining us, Cherlynn.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. A U.S. senator plans to release a report today that attacks huge problems with security and privacy in cars that use wireless technology. Edward J. Markey, who is a Democrat from Massachusetts, says protection against hackers in these systems are inconsistent and haphazard, and that most car makers don't have good systems in place to deal with breaches. The report also slams car makers for tracking drivers and harvesting customer data without explicit consent. Megan Morrone, this is one aspect where the times are changing and the laws and policies are not keeping up. I mean, essentially cars are like mobile devices. They are mobile. They're more mobile devices than your phone because they have wheels. So highly mobile. But at the same time, they do all the things that a smartphone can do. They have wireless networks, and yet they don't have this. There's no pressure on them so far, and this is what this senator is trying to do: apply the pressure to do the same things that smartphone companies like Apple and Google have to do. Just tell you what's being harvested, protect data, and so on. Do you think this will go anywhere? I mean, of course, this is everything turns into a partisan battle in Washington, D.C. these days. Do you think this is going to get anywhere, and that they can bring the world's car makers to heel in terms of privacy and security?
Well, I think they'll talk about it a lot. I hope they get somewhere, but it's going to be part of our lives. I mean, cars will do everything that smartphones do, but they will also do more. They carry us around, and so if we hear, a hack where someone can take control of our brakes or our steering wheel, I mean, that's something that we all should be concerned of if that is actually a risk, which I don't think it is now. But there are other risks. I mean, last week we reported the story about BMW. There was a security hack. Anyone could open the car with, with a laptop outside, and they patched it. But I think, I think it's just going to be something that we're going to be talking about for a long time.
I hope so. And if, the car makers are going to take control of your brakes and your steering wheel, hopefully it's a self-driving car. Well, it will be. If it takes control, it is by definition a self-driving car, either by accident or on purpose. Now, this report is based on responses from BMW, Fiat, Chrysler, Ford, General Motors, Honda, Hyundai, Jaguar, Land Rover, Mazda, Mercedes-Benz, Mitsubishi, Nissan, Porsche, Subaru, Toyota, Volkswagen, and Volvo. So they all responded to the senator's request for information. Aston Martin, because they're too cool with the James Bond thing, Lamborghini, and Tesla, who's way too cool because it's got a space program, did not respond at all. They just basically blew off the senator. So we'll see how that goes for them. And at least 9 automakers, it turns out, according to this report, use third-party companies to collect vehicle data. In other words, it's not even the car company collecting the data. Somebody else is collecting it. Who are those companies? I have no idea. So I'm glad they're bringing this up. And, at the very least, I think when you buy a car, there should be a privacy policy which you have to sign and lie and say that you read it, just like any other privacy policy on a smartphone. So.
Yeah, and again, we're depending on those people that are paying attention closer than we are, that what are they actually collecting? What are the car makers collecting? What are the Fitbit collecting? What health data are they collecting? It's just now everybody's collecting everything, and we need to know what they're collecting and what they're using it for. So.
Hooray for grandstanding politicians. That's all I'm saying. The hacktivist collective Anonymous is hammering social media accounts run by the ISIS terrorist group. Called Operation ISIS, the group claims to have knocked out more than 1,000 social media accounts used to spread fear, propaganda, and pitches for recruitment. Anonymous also listed on Pastebin email accounts, websites, IP addresses, and VPN connections used by ISIS. This is an interesting turn of events. ISIS promises in the video you're seeing now, if you're watching the video version of the show, that they are going to sort of hunt ISIS to the end of the earth. They're never going to let up, and they're going to prevent ISIS from using social media to do their bidding, essentially. And it has to be said, and this is a little bit off the topic of tech, but ISIS is the worst terrorist group ever. They're great at the terror part, but they've managed to be so over-the-top hideous that they've united everyone against them. Everyone is united against ISIS, including Anonymous now.
Right.
So.
Yeah, hard to figure out who's...
Yeah. So if you want to follow this whole thing, it's just search for hashtag OpISIS. That's OPISIS. And this is on Twitter, Facebook, and other places. And you know, they claim to have destroyed 800 Twitter accounts just on that one social network alone. And it's really a fascinating turn of events. And you've got hacker collectives going against terrorist groups. What a world! What a world! All right. Well, in just a sec, we got more news for you. But let's talk about Gazelle. What is Gazelle? You know what Gazelle is. If you watch this show, you know that I'm a huge Gazelle fan because they buy used gadgets. Why would you want to sell your used gadget to Gazelle? Because they'll give you money, which you can then use to buy a new gadget. That's the best part. And if you do want to buy a new gadget, you can buy a certified pre-owned device from Gazelle now. This is something that people have been asking me for a long time. They buy all these devices. Where can I buy them? Well, now you can buy them directly from Gazelle. One of my favorite features of this is that they have certified like new. That means that they are guaranteeing that the phone that they sell to you is indistinguishable from a brand new phone, but it's going to be a lot less expensive. And that means you don't have to get, you know, if you've got a certain budget, you don't have to get a brand new phone that fits into that budget. You can upgrade to a much better phone because it's going to have a lower price from Gazelle. And this is just a great service. Of course, if you get certified good, which may have a little scuff or scratch here and there, you'll get a much better price. But the phone itself will be fully functional. They put everything through a rigorous 30-point inspection to make sure that everything is fully functional. And certified pre-owned devices are backed by a 30-day risk-free return policy. So any reason you don't like it, just send it back and they'll refund all your money. And of course, as I said at the beginning, you know, selling to Gazelle is always a fantastic idea. Don't let your device sit around losing value and gathering dust, because they'll give you good money for it, and the sooner you do it, the more good money they'll give you for it. Find out what your iPhone's worth. Take a minute and go to Gazelle.com to find out. We told you last week about the Anthem hack, which the personal data of up to 80 million people who are customers of the healthcare insurance company may have been compromised. Now, Anthem is warning about an email scam that targets those very customers. The email asks victims to click on a link to obtain credit monitoring. Wow.
So it's one of those situations where they're taking advantage of the security breach to try to pretend that they're helping you from a security perspective.
Right.
Which is just scary.
And it's funny because the response by Anthem is for them to go super old school as a security measure. And what I mean by that is they've notified on their website to customers, if you're one of these 80 million people, they said, we will not email you and we will not call you. We're only going to send you a letter. If it's not on paper, it's not us. And that's an interesting, you know, it reminds me of the Sony Pictures hack where they got hacked so bad that everybody's using pen and paper.
Right.
And so, you know, people trying to remember how to form letters with the, you know, their fist and so on.
I mean, it's 80 million people. That's so many. And I mean, what happens now? Now the phishing attacks happen. I mean, those social security numbers are out there. It's really hard to bounce back from that. I mean, what happens now for these people?
Yeah, they're toast, basically. The OnePlus One smartphone will now be on sale to the public without an invitation, but only every Tuesday, starting at midnight Pacific time. OnePlus is expected to unveil its Oxygen operating system this week, which will eventually replace the CyanogenMod fork of Android on OnePlus phones. What do you think, Megan Morrone? Are you getting tired of their gymnastics around the invitation? It's like, just sell the thing already.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been following this story as closely as maybe you have, but there's, I don't know. I mean, doesn't everyone just want an iPhone and call it a day?
The OnePlus is a great phone for the price. It's very cheap, under $300, well, $300 essentially, and it's, you know, everybody says it's this great phone and it's the best phone at that price you can buy probably, and certainly a lot of people think so. But you know, the way other companies do
deal with potential, shortfalls in inventory is they just say, okay, well, there's a 5-week waiting list. You order it now, first come, first served. But this company just keeps turning on and turning off their invitation process. And it's been so long that they've been doing this, and they haven't been successful at it. I personally think that people are tiring of all of this. But if you're not tiring of it and you want to you want a OnePlus One phone, Tuesday, that's midnight Pacific, going around the clock for 24 hours, and then they cut it off again for another until the next Tuesday.
How much do they cost?
I think they're $299 still. Yeah, they start at $299. Yeah. Good price. Okay, so got some product updates for you. Sling TV has opened registrations for its $20 per month TV streaming service. Now you can get it in the United States without an invitation. Speaking of companies that have invitations. The company also announced the addition of AMC content, which includes the TV hit series like Mad Men and others, and also content from the BBC and other organizations.
Now, are you a cord cutter?
I do my best, yes. Yeah, pretty much.
Do you have cable?
I do.
Would a service like this be interesting to you?
It might be, because I mean, AMC, this is one of those things we have to have AMC. So how do you get AMC, right? So this is now that they offer this. Sling, I think, becomes now that you can buy it, you can get it. It becomes much more attractive. I mean, you have to watch. Isn't Walking Dead on AMC as well?
I am not sure. I'm not a Walking Dead
Burke
fan.
Give me the thumbs up. He's a huge zombie fan over there. So yeah, he knows.
Well, you have to have Mad Men.
Yeah, you do. But only for what, 4 or 5 more episodes or something.
And you could also have Patience. I watch Mad Men. I just wait for it to come out on Netflix.
I haven't seen the series Patience. It sounds good. All right. Well, Netflix CEO Reed Hastings announced today that the streaming movie service will soon be available in, wait for it, Cuba. This sounds like it's not going to work because, first of all, there's so many problems with this. I mean, it's great that they're doing this, and the sort of relationship between the United States and Cuba and the opening up of Cuba has just begun, and it's problematic for a number of reasons. Number one, there are some Republicans, especially in Miami, who are the descent of Cubans or themselves immigrants from Cuba in the last few decades, who are very, very much against any sort of opening with Cuba. So there may be political opposition to the president's process of opening up to Cuba. Secondly, nobody in Cuba can afford internet connection. Almost nobody. The price of an internet connection is approximately 1/3 to 1/2 of the salary of people in Cuba. So hardly anybody is online. Thirdly, they have very slow connections. A lot of the connections are coming online that are on smartphones, so downloading Netflix movies might not be great. And then, of course, the government is going to want to censor all kinds of movies, and that could be complicating. But still, I guess you got to start somewhere, and bringing Netflix to Cuba is where you start.
So if you don't think it's going to work, why is Netflix doing it?
I think they want to be an innovator. They want to get started. They know that this sort of thing is going to happen, and that other companies are going to get into Cuba. I think they're going to push in there and see what happens, and even if they have an audience, the number of customers that Netflix has is vastly higher than the total population of Cuba. I mean, Cuba is a very tiny market for them, and then only a tiny percentage of Cubans actually have the ability to use the internet consistently. And so, they're probably going to have 500 to 5,000 customers or something like that in the first year. I'm guessing. I'm just throwing these numbers out and making them up, but it's going to be tiny, really tiny numbers. But it's bragging rights, and it's it's a process, and it's an opportunity also within the government. 10 years, Cubans are going to be watching everything online just like everybody else. But Netflix may be the first imprinted content brand, maybe. Who knows?
So they're just putting their flag down. It's kind of a PR move.
Yeah,
you're saying.
That's what
Cubans will have to have even more patience than I do to watch Mad Men.
Yes. Yeah.
But then they could watch it all at once.
That's right. But if it's the only service, they'll have the time. They're not going to be waiting for other content. LG today announced a new virtual reality headset for LG G3 users that will work using Google's Cardboard VR platform and compatible apps. And this after Jason just spent a fortune on both a phone and a Samsung virtual reality headset. Sorry, Jason. You should have got an LG.
Besides, isn't virtual reality so last month? It's all augmented reality now, right?
Yes. Except I don't even have virtual reality yet.
Just skip it.
Anyway. All right, well, we got some courtroom drama for you. The patent troll company Intellectual Ventures will receive $17 million from Symantec instead of the $298 million they were seeking over violations of 2 patents. Symantec was found to have not infringed on a third patent. Still, the outcome is seen as a victory for intellectual ventures because it confirms the validity of the 2 patents in advance of a lawsuit against Trend Micro over the same IP. A third company did the smart thing, and they settled. You know, this is a controversial company, this intellectual ventures, because they don't really make anything. They just buy patents, and then they sue other companies for violating those patents that they bought. But it seems to be working.
Yeah, it seems to be working. I don't know how they're sleeping at night, but if it works for them, yeah, I'm not a fan of the patent troll.
Yep, but you know, if you're going to be a patent troll, you might as well be good at it, as they are.
Sure.
In mergers and acquisitions, British chip designer ARM Holdings said today that it had acquired Dutch Internet of Things company Offspark. The terms were not disclosed. Google announced the acquisition of an app called Odyssey, which is a smartphone photo backup tool. The Odyssey team will join the Google Plus team and help integrate Odyssey features into Google's social network. I'm a little bit surprised by this because the backup feature that exists in the Google Plus app is already kind of perfect. It like instantly uploads your pictures. Those pictures are then instantly formatted automatically, and I don't know what this Odyssey company can bring to their feature set already, but who knows?
I don't know either. I mean, I had an Android phone, and it was seamless backup of my photos. And actually, you know, when I got the iPhone, it was actually harder. I mean, it didn't do it as well. So I don't know what they're doing here either.
It could be simply an acqui-hire. They may have lost some people to go somewhere else, and they need people with certain types of expertise, and it's really hard to hire people in Silicon Valley. Really, really hard, even if you're Google. So what they're doing possibly is they're just buying some employees. In government crackdown news, a new decree went into effect in France over the weekend that empowers the French government to block websites believed to promote terrorism and without a court order. And they're doing the same thing that China does, which is they're lumping together terrorism and child pornography. You know, something that's controversial with something that isn't controversial to make sure that this goes through. But, you know, it has to be said, and we said this again when we were covering the Charlie Hebdo situation, attack there, that the French government seems to not understand the irony of this kind of move, because some people think the attack on Charlie Hebdo was terrorism versus counterterrorism, and other people see it as pro-free speech versus anti-free speech. So to respond to terrorists who want to suppress free speech with the suppression of free speech is not going down easily for a lot of people.
No, I mean, it does seem rather ironic, but it is what happens when people get scared.
It is. Yep, that's why terrorism works. That's why they call it terrorism. Big numbers for you, 12.3. That's the percentage of the Chinese smartphone market that Apple owned in the fourth quarter of 2014, according to a report from analyst firm Canalys. That's up from just 5% in the third quarter, 5% to 12.3%, a huge jump in just one quarter. The most surprising estimate from the report is that Canalys believes Apple is now the #1 handset maker in China. But Kantar World Panel disagrees, saying Apple is #2 in China after leader Xiaomi. Either way, Apple is just killing it in China.
They are, yeah. They wanted the bigger screens. They gave it to them.
And
call it a day, like I said.
Exactly. Everybody else loves those big screens. And here's a huge number that just is the shocking fact of the day. 93 is a number, and that's the percentage of smartphone profits that Apple took in the fourth quarter, according to Canaccord. Samsung took only 9%. The total adds up to more than 100% because they factor in the losses of the rest of the industry. This is just becoming insane. 93%. One company is making 93% of all the smartphone profits.
And they're still borrowing money.
And they're still borrowing. Why not? The credit is really good. And this is the profits. I believe this is profits on the handsets themselves. Of course, they make a killing in skimming off a third of all of their app. They get money from content. They get money from all kinds of things. So Apple, you know, it's good work if you can get it. They're really doing pretty darn well. Okay, $590 million. That's how many dollars China's Alibaba group invested in a Chinese smartphone maker called Meizu Technology, which has less than 2% of China's smartphone market share. Meizu is best known for making exact copies of Apple iPhones. This is a company that's kind of trying to play it both ways. They try to be a kind of legit company, but then they make these knockoff counterfeit Android smartphones that look exactly like iPhones. Bizarre that such a big company like this would want to get invested in them, but I guess now they're in the smartphone business. What are you going to do? All right, we got a wrap up for you here. Our TNT fan of the day is Doug
Higbee, and you ready for this one, Mega? This is going to blow you away.
I don't know. Am I ready?
No, you're not. Doug Higbee in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Doug's wife, Priscilla, posted this picture on Twitter showing Doug walking the dog on a unicycle while listening to TNT. We have the most talented audience there is. I mean, look at this guy.
Yeah, it's hard to tell that that's a unicycle, but yeah. And walking the dog on a leash, invisible leash.
I think he's using his mind control to keep the dog exactly where he wants the dog to go. This guy's really a talent there. Look at that.
Yeah,
Very
we should
amazing.
keep our voices steady if we know that people are riding unicycles
exactly.
while we're
and without
talking.
a helmet. How do you watch or listen to TNT? Just record a video or take a picture of yourself. You don't have to be riding a unicycle. That's unnecessary. Take a picture of yourself or your setup and post it on Google+, Twitter, or Facebook, and use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we'll find it. And that is the tech news today. Megan Morrone, tell us about the evening news show and also where people can follow you.
People can follow me at Megan Morrone on Twitter, and the evening news show is at 4 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. That's where you can watch it live, but of course you can subscribe to it. And it's a little like this, except tonight it will be just me and whoever I am interviewing. But I don't know who it will be, but it will be good.
Yes, it will be good. Well, thank you so much, and thank you so much for co-anchoring today. Awesome stuff. Well, you can subscribe to Tech News Today on iTunes or wherever great podcasts are aggregated. You can also watch us live every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC at live.twit.tv. You can also use the app or browser plugin of your choice. If you're ever in the greater Petaluma area, don't forget to come in and watch us live. We love a live audience. You can follow us on Twitter at Tech News Today TV. And if you're a technology news fan, and of course you are, come hang out with us in our Google Plus community. Just search Google Plus for Tech News Today. You can follow me personally on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com/mike.elgan. And send us email to tnt@twit.tv or call us at 260-TNT-SHOW. Just tell us what's on your mind, whatever you'd like to see on the show, or if you disagree with something we said or agree, just give us a call or send us an email and let us know. And don't miss our evening newscast, Tech News Tonight at 4 p.m. Pacific tonight and every weeknight right here on the Twit Network. My name is Mike Elgan. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.